What's up, everybody? Thank you for joining us for the fourth episode of the Savage Corner. I'm excited as they get. I'm with Summer here today.
Hey, hey.
We're gonna be talking about healing. I'm excited because she didn't even tell me what the questions were. So this is all gonna be authentic. What do you think, Summer?
Yes, it is. Well, I think that my healing journey at first was very confusing and I didn't know what to do or where to go or how to act or what to say or do anything. Like I was just kind of lost and I nobody ever told me how to do it. Like so I just thought it would be nice for us to kind of compare our healing journeys and where we were at the time and what we were doing to kind of guide people along.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay. So you ready to get started?
Always.
Okay. So, like I said, each healing journey is very, very unique. And I just kind of want to go through the steps of at first, and my first one was acknowledgement. Um, it was just the need to heal and know that there's something wrong.
Yeah,
And accepting the pain, accepting all of this stuff. But after you accept all this stuff, kind of what in the hell do you do with it?
yeah,
So, you want to reiterate on acknowledgement?
yeah. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, it's a self reflection, and then you work on self. So you have to acknowledge that there's something wrong inside of you and then start to progress forward on how you're going to approach it. And there's so many different ways that you can get in touch with it once you got a hold of it. So you have to say,
Mhm.
okay, A, there's something wrong with me. B, I need to fix it. And C, would be how am I going to do it? And you have to want to do it for yourself, because if you're doing it for anybody else but yourself, you're going to fail. So you have to, it's a self-reflection. So you have to acknowledge the fact that you deserve better. And I think that's the approach, because some people say, oh, I want better, I need to be better. No, it's not any of that. It's you want to do better, and if you want something, you're going to go for it. So that was my biggest thing. Yeah, absolutely. You got to acknowledge that you need to work. We all need work. It's always ever
Yeah,
ending.
yeah, I agree. And just to kind of reiterate on your stuff, I started healing because people wanted me to change.
Yeah.
Like as a woman, like I wasn't acting the way they wanted me to act. So I was trying to change myself,
Okay.
but change myself into not the person I was.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
mine was really big on acknowledgement. Okay.
Yeah.
The second one is self-reflection. Once acknowledgement has kind of taken its place, the self-reflection was probably the most crucial part because it made me explore my emotions, which I figured out, I have no control over those. My thoughts, my patterns, and all of that stuff kind of contributed to what I was going through my
Yeah.
self-reflection. Like that was a really, really, really hard stage for me. So do
Mhm.
you want to reiterate on self-reflection and what you kind of went through?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the hardest part is understanding that we all kind of go through life doing the bare necessity to what we need to survive, right? So,
Yeah.
it's a repetitive hamster wheel. Like it's almost like
It's
people.
survival mode, correct?
Yeah,
So, like
yeah,
survival mode?
yeah, and most people don't even realize they're doing it until it's literally usually just like an aha moment. Like all of a sudden, it's a snap, and you're like, whoa, like wait a minute, how long have I been doing this? Why am I doing this? And I think it's because it's muscle memory. Repetitively, we do something over and over and over again. So, like for instance, like a habit, it takes 28 days of doing something consecutively to create a habit. So, if you do something for 28 days, it's going to be a habit. It only takes you 4 hours to remove the habit. So, that's the snap. That's the aha moment. Like, why am I doing this over and
Yeah.
over again? So it doesn't take long to kill the habit, but it takes forever to create the habit. So people go through life just with these habits of what they do to make themselves just get by. And then that's
Yeah.
where depression kicks in, anxiety kicks in because it's outside of a comfort zone. And all these things are just running like rampant because you had this knee jerk reaction and something wasn't the same anymore,
Yeah.
or something wasn't fulfilling you anymore. So it's sometimes it's a rat race and people just need to acknowledge that they need something different or they want something different. So
Yeah. I agree. Okay. Um, Seeking support. Healing, it's not really meant to do it alone. Um, we call our friends, our families. I know that I went to therapy, um, just to kind of provide some kind of guidance. Like I was reaching out to just my different friends and like, this is what I'm going through. Do you have any advice? Like I was just really searching because I mean, I called my mom and she's telling me you need to work your marriage out, you know? Like I called my best friend and she's like, "Oh, screw that guy. We can find you a better one." And I'm just thinking, I this is 20 years. Like this is my entire my so like, me seeking support in those environments, to me, I don't know, like, I was more seeking support on what could I do now that this is done? Like,
yeah,
what am I supposed to do next? And that's kinda what I was looking for, but I was getting a lot of different people's opinions about support and what they thought that I needed,
yeah,
if that
yeah,
makes it easier. So, what do
yeah.
you think about that? Like
So there's two parts of that. So I think we all do the same thing. We go through something, and the first thing we do is we reach out for something we were comfortable with. Well, remember, a lot of those people were probably the people that put you in that mindset, that repetitive to begin with. So you're going to all of a sudden, and that's that eye awakening moment. You're starting to look at people for what they're actually worth, and you're going to get bad advice and you're going to get good advice. And again, what are you doing there? You're seeking for
Mhm,
validation. You don't need to be validated. This is for you. It's
mhm,
not for somebody else. So people are going to have weird and awkward opinions about it because it's not for them, it's for you. And that's where you
yeah,
have to start to decipher and remember that you're doing this for yourself and not for somebody else. So when you bring it to
yeah,
somebody, they may not give you the right opinion or the right word or right verbiage that you need to hear because it's not for them, it's for you. And I would even go as far as saying be cautious with the advice that you get from somebody because at that point now they're going to start speaking for them and not for you, and it's a selfish reaction to them because they want you right where you are. They want to
yeah,
continue that piece of you, and they're afraid that you're going to progress or go somewhere and I'm no longer be a part of your life. So they're going to give
mhm,
you bad advice or bad scenarios based on that answer. So again, it has to be for you or you won't get the work done properly if you ask me. So
yeah,
asking other people's
okay.
opinions can get weird. They can get really weird.
I mean, like, if you like praying or something, like, if you just need somebody just to kinda, like, feel you and just need to listen to you, like, that's one thing, but as far as and that's a really good outlet, but I think that there also needs to be a different kind of guidance as well away from, like, because
Yeah.
those people, like you said, will say, "Well, if this person changed, selfishly, this will all change," and,
Yeah. Yeah.
we're trying to keep them. Yeah.
Right. 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 I mean, that's why the best
Uh,
presence for
oh my
that
god.
is a best presence for that is in therapy.
Yeah.
Because you're sitting in front of somebody that doesn't have any judgment on you, but whatsoever, and that's what therapy is about. It's an outlet for you to be able to say things, and the repercussion is not as great because that person doesn't. They're not your friend. They're not your family. So when you speak to that person, their 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 response is different, and that's why I say go to counseling. Have that person there for you. I'm not saying cut people off, but I'm saying just be aware of the conversations that you are having because you can get bad advice from a person unknowingly. I'm not saying they're bad people. They're just that's their reaction to it. It's just like a parent, and a kid's thinking about moving away or so on and so forth. You know what I mean? So that's my biggest thing.
Yeah. And okay, so that kind of like what you were just touching on kind of goes into the next and I wrote developing coping strategies. Um like healthy coping strategies because I did not have the healthiest coping strategies. But just from my mistakes, I would like to share what you're really supposed to do and not what I did. Um, the healthy ones that you can manage your stress and your triggers and your emotions, practicing mindfulness, engaging in creative outlets, like you said, finding activities that bring you joy and relaxation. So really just kind of pouring back into yourself, with just it's stop like 10 minutes a day, stop with all the negative thoughts and really look at yourself in the mirror and say, I am worth what I'm doing. I do love myself. I know that I have to go through these emotions. I know that I'm okay. Like, but even though inside you feel like your whole world is just about to explode. So,
Yeah, yeah,
is there any
yeah.
other like coping strategies that you can give some
No, I mean
insight on that use?
the biggest thing, and I think women and men both have, but I'm gonna speak from a man's perspective. Like we have a hard time. So when I talk to guys and I say, "Oh, you know, what'd you do?" and they're just like, "Oh, well, I did this, this, and this," and I'm like, "All right, okay. So when did you find time for yourself?" And it's always this knee jerk reaction of, "I don't have time," and it's just like it doesn't take a lot, like literally 5 minutes a day to yourself relaxing and doing something that you enjoy, whether it be a walk or whether it be to the river or anything. I've always called it the blue collar confessional. And the blue collar confessional, and it's funny because we had some friends over last night and my son said it in front of our company, and I was mortified, but really I shouldn't be because I know a lot of people do it. The blue collar confessional is when you pull up in the driveway and you sit in your car, and I used to do it for hours. And that's just what my kid said in front of everybody. "Oh, you mean like when you sat in your car for hours before you came in the house?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, like I didn't even know he knew that.
Yeah.
But so that's not a moment to yourself because you have all your burdens there. You need to do something that makes you smile, something that's fun for you. So I'm not saying to go, decompress. I'm saying go do an activity quickly that is something you enjoy to do. I know it's not healthy, but go smoke a cigarette. It's something like that to where you can just say, okay, I enjoy this, and it gives me a minute to think about the things that I like, not what I'm decompressing from, but what I like. So you got to find. I did it, single parent, um, 2 kids. I was on my own, and I think I said it in one of the other podcasts. I got up in the morning, it was dark. I got home, it was dark, and I still had to do dinner. I get up in the morning around 6, get the kids off to school. I go to work a 10-hour shift. I wouldn't even come home. I go straight to the ball field because I coached football. And then I'd come home at 9 o'clock at night. We still hadn't even done dinner yet. We still hadn't even done
Yeah.
homework yet. So like I kept saying to myself, I don't have time. I don't have time. Well, so I didn't put in the work. I got in a relationship and it blew up in my face because I never
Yeah.
did anything for myself. I didn't know
Yeah.
what that meant to do things for myself. So
Yeah.
you got to find something you enjoy and just do it. It's part of healing to figure out who you are to yourself and not to somebody else, because your whole
Okay.
life is
So
based on who you are to somebody else.
can I just make like a this is a safe zone. I'm just going to tell you, I don't want you to be upset but like, I feel like as your partner, like, I don't think that you do that enough.
Yeah, yeah. So
And
though I've
and
learned,
sometimes I'm just like, "Babe, you have to like, you still work on that, and I know you are, but I just like, this is an ongoing thing. I just want everybody to understand. It's not just, oh, you do this one time and woo, you're
yeah,
healed. No, this is
yeah,
a this is an ongoing fight." Okay, go ahead, baby,
right,
if you wanna
right.
Yeah.
No, what I was gonna say was because you don't see it. So I make small tidbits of time for me throughout the entire day. So when
Yeah.
I'm at work, I may take a 5-minute break and I'm literally doing me. I'm not doing
Okay.
anybody else. Nothing's going on. I just do me.
Okay.
But I always find small increments of time throughout the entire day. So sometimes they're not visible, sometimes they are visible.
Mhm.
So it just and the things that I enjoy to do are things like this. I like to talk about things. I'm a people person. I love to watch videos and educate myself, and it's just those are the things I like to do. So what you're seeing, what most people would think it's work, it's not. It's something I enjoy. So
Yes.
that helps out. If that helps people out, sometimes
Yeah.
it's just not visible. You got to take time to yourself. So
Yeah. And I mean, even though that my thing is like my work is something that I enjoy, but you know me, like I can get lost in a painting for 10 to 12 hours.
days, don't even try it.
Well, I mean, yeah, okay, but I mean, I won't like I'll just kinda like life is just kinda I'm just like, "Ooh, okay, I needed this for a minute." And I'm
Yeah,
just there in my own brain kinda. I have noticed since developing like some of my coping strategies that now my negative thoughts when I am in my head are more positive than negative.
yeah, yeah,
And and for me, like, I'm proud, like,
yeah.
that I've kinda made that transformation, and
Yeah.
because before, ooh, I was mean to myself.
Yeah, and that's
Like
and that we were just talking about this the other day. Most people will
yeah,
beat themselves. They'll beat themselves to death in their own brain. And they think
they
that
will.
if they're hard on myself, then I'll keep myself in balance. Well, that's not balance. You have
Yeah,
to have you have to encourage yourself at the same time that you're holding yourself responsible. And the way I said it, and I'm gonna say it again here, was the best way I can describe it is you look at a guy who's being beat down mentally by his wife for not being successful or doing the things they're supposed to do. And then you take a guy that's being uplifted by his wife or girlfriend and making him feel like he is the greatest thing on earth. And you're going to see two totally different men. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So it's always good to have encouragement and to be held responsible than to just beat yourself down and think that by beating yourself up, you're going to hold yourself responsible because eventually you're just
yeah,
going to be beating yourself up. So,
yeah, and those coping mechanisms, like, you have to and I can't tell you your own coping mechanisms, and that's what the thing people were trying to give me coping mechanisms, and I'm just like, "But I don't have that," you know? So you're coping you need to make sure that your coping mechanisms are something that you resonate with. Don't,
right.
like, make sure that you know that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Um, and develop those healthy ones. Take time to yourself, you know.
Mhm.
Make sure, like, everything that you just do "Baby, I love you. You're so
I love
awesome."
you I
Okay.
love you too.
Number 5, process emotions.
Mm,
I struggle with this so much. Wes just kinda giggles at me sometimes, I'm sure, because, like, I have to stop myself because my first reaction, and it's just from is defense. I'm defensive all the time, like, and it's from people me tolerating people that I shouldn't have tolerated, but, I'm learning. And so whenever I tell Wes that, "Hey, I gotta process something," and he's just like, "But I've already processed it." And so, processing emotion it involves confronting and processing those difficult emotions and knowing and accepting those emotions that are normal. It is normal to cry. It is, it's allowing yourself to feel and express and maybe you can say more. Like,
yeah, that's a loaded question for a guy, that, right? Like, it's we have
yeah.
such a
I
hard
mean,
time
but
with being vulnerable.
go ahead,
Like,
sorry.
that's
Yeah.
got we have such a hard time with being vulnerable that eh, let's look at it this way. You go look at a suicide rate. Suicide rate is the highest amongst middle-aged white males than
Uh-huh.
any other demographic there is. And the main thing is because men, and not just the white men or that age bracket, just men in general, men have a hard time with being vulnerable. And it's because we were always told as we're growing up to toughen up, be a man, all these situations that made us feel like we can't be vulnerable at all. So and I went through
Yeah.
a lot of the struggles, and then that's I think another reason why you need to heal on your own, because you need to cry. You need to talk to yourself. You need to let these emotions out, and get to the point where you're comfortable about speaking with them to other people, because most men don't want to seem vulnerable or come off vulnerable. So it's hard for a man to go that extra step to be vulnerable. But once you get there, you realize that it's part of for us, like for me, it's part of my manhood. If I need to cry, I'm going to cry. Why? Because I'm going to do what I need to do. You know what I mean? I'm a man. That's what we're supposed to do, right? Do what we need to do just to keep moving. And if crying for a moment is that, then guess what? I'm going to do it. So it takes a long time for a man to drop that vulnerability. But once you let it go, you realize it's not as terrible as you thought it was gonna be, especially when it's with the right person. I understand you drop your vulnerabilities to the wrong person, it's gonna hurt like hell. But and I think that happens to women too. I just like I said, I know with men, we tend to hold all this stuff back, and then it comes out into self-medicating with alcohol or drugs or violence or depression. It's these really nasty things, for men to hold the stuff back. So we have to, as men, we have to be able to start getting better about communicating when we don't feel right. You know what I mean? It's
Mhm.
okay to not feel right, and it's okay to be vulnerable, and process your emotions in a healthy way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's my piece on
Uh,
it.
okay. So, I mean, there's not just like processing emotions can be done through, I know that you've said a burn book, but I said therapy, journaling, art, and just any kind of form of self-expression, like if you needed to feel an emotion and you needed to get that out. And I love the burn book concept. I've never done it, and I'm probably gonna start doing it, but can you just kind of express that? Because I think that that helped you as a man,
Yeah, yeah.
really.
So I journaled a ton, and then I had a friend of mine at the time, say, "Why don't you get a burn book?" And I was like, "Oh," and I laughed, and we didn't even articulate what a burn book was.
Mhm.
So then I was a few days, I remember journaling, and I said, my head said burn book. What is that anyway? So I Googled it, and what a burn book is basically you write down all your thoughts. It's a journal. It's really what it is. It's a journal. But the whole idea behind it is at the end of that book, you set that thing on fire. You release it, and nobody else can see it. Nobody,
Mhm.
except for you and that pen and piece of paper. Nobody saw what you wrote down. So it really gives you the chance to channel your emotion into something because nobody else is going to see it but you. So it's a
Yeah.
self-reflection. It's a great concept. And it's something so simple. You don't have to, I say go out and buy one because it will lead you down the right path as far as questions and things to do in order.
Yeah.
But really you can just write a journal. What do I feel right now? Write it down, burn it. You know,
Yeah.
never
It's
let
me that
anybody see it
no, no,
if
no,
that's
no,
what you
put
need.
down, put
If
down.
you need to process your emotion without somebody knowing it, and I can only imagine because, like I said, if you were the person that did wrong in your relationship, say you were the cheater, okay, and you messed your marriage up, I don't. I myself would have a hard time talking to somebody about that. So I mean, those kind of books and concepts will help you because you can literally write out everything you went through, and nobody else is going to know the better. And then you set that thing on fire, and you change your life.
And it just kinda helps you, like, get it out, get it there, you know about it, and you're like, "Okay, I either don't wanna do that again or I need to change something about it." And then you
Yeah,
just let it go, which I love
yeah,
that concept.
yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, and I was gonna say, like, okay, so yours was that way, but mine was really, like, I started meditating,
Yeah.
And if I felt a certain way, I would just turn on some music and really go and feel that emotion. Sometimes I would scream, sometimes I would cry, sometimes I would laugh, and I would literally talk my way through it.
Yeah.
And I was talking to myself and talking my way through the emotion and just kind of being there. So I don't know if that helps with anybody's process of emotion, but that's just kind of the
Yeah.
things that I did.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
like, you taught me
Um,
about grounding, and you've taught me about breathing, and you taught me about I never did any of that stuff until I met you. So that's
okay.
another chapter that I think the breathing thing is super cool, because you'd be amazed at how much we don't breathe properly, especially
Yeah,
during times of crises, you know what I mean? So
absolutely.
when I started learning about breathing techniques, I was just like, wow, like I'm so aggravated, so mad, and then me breathing correctly for 30 seconds and it's gone. It's released.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
it's just so, you know, look out for breathing techniques. Look out for, there's so much out there. Trust me, there's something that
Google
will help.
them, like, Google
Yeah,
them. Yeah,
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 yeah. I think that that's what Wes and I did, and then we found some more friends that, we kinda resonate with, and they were talking about it. I was like, "Yeah, that's I love this," and just kind of and I don't know if you notice it, but even since, like, meditating, like, whenever I am aggravated and I take that breath, that's because I'm telling myself, "This is just 1 second," you
right,
know, you know, just breathe. You're in the moment. He loves you. He would never do like, and I'm consciously telling myself this stuff, and so I learn and I teach myself that it's not something that I have to fight for. Like, you stop
right.
right now, and you don't have to. Like, these are things. Okay, are you ready for the next one?
Yeah, go for it.
This one was probably I'm still working on this one. So forgiveness and letting go. Whenever I say forgiveness and letting go, what is your first initial thought process whenever I say that?
Um, I mean, so well, the biggest thing that I think of right away is that I had a really hard time of figuring out, and I think a lot of people do, of the line of forgiveness and forgetting. And the most people say, "I'll never forgive him. This is what they did. This is what they did." And I'm like, it's not for them. Forgiveness is for you. Like it's your release. It's you saying and taking control and saying, "All right, this is what happened. It's over. It's over. It can't happen again because I'm not going to forget it. But it's over. It's done. So
Mhm.
that's what I think the biggest thing is people have to slow down and realize that the what has happened, you can't change it. There is no
Yeah,
change to it. So why continue
yeah,
to hold on to it? I'm not saying
yeah,
forget it. Don't allow it to ever happen to you again, but you
yeah.
have to let it go. Like you have to forgive it.
And I never grasped that concept
Yeah.
until, like, you kinda put it that way. So that's
Yeah.
why I wanted to get yours before I kinda went and did, but okay. So, like, with that, like, forgiving yourself and letting go is like whatever you know that you're on that first level of, "Oh my goodness, look, I get it. Like,
Yeah.
I get this part of it." And when you can look at yourself in the mirror and say, "I do forgive you for yelling at the kids."
Right.
Like, cause my big thing is with my children, I make mistakes and we all make mistakes and I get that, but the only thing I ever wanted to be was a really good mom. And I
Yeah.
was a really good mom, but I was controlling everything, which we all know that you can't control it now.
Right.
But, um, like, letting go of those negative emotion and embracing that forgiveness kind of brought a sense of, like, peace and freedom. And understanding that I was literally a child raising a child, and I was left alone, and I did it by myself.
Yeah.
So, you know, that was hard for me. Was it hard for you too?
Yeah, I mean, I felt angry, I felt mad, I felt bitter, like, but I've always as a, as an empath, like, I've always felt like I process emotion through the eyes of the person that I'm angry at, so if somebody did something to me, my first reaction is why? And then the only real reason I can find, or the real way I could find why, is to put myself in their shoes and react how they did. And I do it in my mind and I'm like, oh wow, like you wronged me, but man, that wasn't
Yeah.
your intent, and then I can start to slowly the like, me in quotes. I saw a quote that says that you cannot react in anger, just like you cannot see in your reflection in boiling water. But once the boiling stops and the water settles, then you can see your reflection again. You can't just
Dude, that is a
react.
great quote.
You can't just react in anger, because if you do, it's going to be the wrong reaction. Let things settle, let things calm down, and then make your reaction. And that's it's the only way that you're going to be able to forgive somebody, is to see what they did from their side. Why did they make that decision? The only way that you're gonna be able to forgive them is that way. Okay. And again, you don't forget what they did. You don't allow them to do it again, but you have to let it go. You have to.
And don't forget, you're gonna have to go back 3 steps to figure out about all that. That's just part of the learning process.
Right, right,
I
right,
don't want
right, right.
everybody to get their hopes up.
No, that's a whole other
It's
podcast.
an ongoing. It's yeah, that's a whole other one. Um, I'm going to say, okay, so the next one is, babe, were you done on that one? I'm so sorry.
No, you're fine. Yeah, no.
Okay. Um, just remember, forgiving yourself makes you really look at yourself and understand what you were not getting and what the other person wasn't getting and how the communication failed.
Yeah,
So don't, and it's strictly just for you, because you actually don't need an apology or anything from anyone.
yeah.
Just, I know people aren't gonna hear that, but hopefully those words will stick whenever they do remember the forgiveness part of it.
Yep,
It's
absolutely.
all for you, not anybody else. Okay. Self-care. Um, prioritizing self-care is, like, absolutely essential. That is that is your main thing, is only you. This includes taking care of physical, emotional, mental well-being, engaging in activities that nourish your body, mind, and soul. Such as, I wrote, exercise, meditation, spending time in nature, and practicing self-compassion. So that is a lot,
Yeah,
all in one thing, to like, and these are things that as mothers we give our children.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, but
yeah.
we don't give that to ourselves.
Right.
So what about, like, in a men's brain, or do you have an opinion on the way that, like, self-care, like,
Well, the main thing that flew in my head as soon as you said it was, I'd say, a year after I was divorced, and again, doing the single father thing, like, I was gonna go out on a date and I didn't go. And the reason why I didn't go is because I went into my closet and I realized I had nothing, nothing that fit, nothing that didn't have holes in it or wasn't faded or wasn't, and you're talking a whole year. And I realized, man, like, when I was in high school, like, everybody loved how I dressed. They thought I was the coolest dude because I wore wallabies that were dyed and matching T-shirts and cross colors and Guess and Tommy Hilfiger and Polo. And like, I was like, when did I get to the guy that wore sweaters that were 4 times too big with holes in them? So, I had to start, and it took a little while, but I'd start, once a paycheck, I'd buy myself a T-shirt or a shirt, pair of jeans,
yeah,
boots,
Yeah.
and then it progressed, and then the next thing I know, I had this whole wardrobe of clothes, and they're not extravagant or expensive, but they were nice.
Yeah.
And I started to feel better about myself, and I started to feel more confident. I got my hair cut. I grew my beard out. Like, I became the person that I was supposed to be because literally I went into my closet and I had no clothes. Now people say, "Oh, I had
Yeah.
nothing that didn't fit or, nothing that looked right." I literally had no clothes because
Yeah.
I stopped doing for myself. I literally stopped doing for myself. And then I wondered why, you know, my marriage went the way it went. Because at some point in time, now did I deserve what I got? No. But at some point in time, I
No.
stopped giving to myself. And
Yeah.
that reflected on my family, So, and
Absolutely.
that's that self-reflection. Okay, I was wronged, didn't deserve what I got, but I had something to do with it, and
Yeah.
I found my something, and I started correcting before we were divorced, but it continued after, you know,
Yeah.
way after, so,
Well, I
um,
mean, you also went through all of your emotions and depression, and
oh,
honestly,
yeah,
during
yeah.
that time, you give yourself some grace. Like, you didn't give a shit. You didn't give a shit what you look like. You gave a shit about how you felt, and people did you wrong, and you were pissed off about it, and that's okay.
Yeah,
That's part of it.
yeah,
But
yeah, but
in, I
it
mean,
goes the same way to say that, at some point in time you became depressed because you lost yourself, you know what I mean? So, like,
yeah,
it's still a progression thing, like, you somewhere in life, you've lost yourself, and yes,
hmm,
you should have been given the space and the proper environment to find it. That's where I was wronged, but
yeah,
I had some kind of, course in the action, and that's because I lost myself, and I'm not
yeah,
saying that was my fault, I'm just saying that's what
yeah,
happened, but,
yeah,
that's what it reminded me of because I just remember going to my closet and I'm like, holy cow. Like, I literally have 4 pairs of basketball shorts and a holy sweatshirt. That's all I have in here. Like, wait a minute. I
yeah,
haven't I haven't done anything for myself in years, not just
yeah,
a couple of days, couple of months, years. It probably was 10
yeah.
years, before I bought myself something nice, So, I mean, that's what I thought of when he said that. So,
Okay. Um, I mean, but that's one thing that people don't really do is buy themselves things that they actually need to make themselves feel better.
yeah,
So, like for me, you know that clothes are not my top priority. Like I will show up in a Beastie Boys, some this shirt and some whatever, my cowgirl boots and
yeah.
be fine. Like that to me was never a thing. But my if my hair didn't look fine, I was not okay.
No, yeah. Right,
So, yeah.
right, right.
But no,
That's
I
one
still
thing
like get that.
That's one thing, if a man ever asked me how to and it's gonna sound crazy at first, but I'm like, if a man ever asked me, "What makes you so happy?" You know what I wanna tell him? "Go find a
What?
barber. Go
Oh
find a
yeah.
barber, go get your hair cut." If you do not walk out of that building feeling like $1,000,000, go
Hmm.
see a counselor or find yourself another barber because there is
Yeah.
something off there. I mean,
Yeah.
to me, getting a haircut is, like, one of the biggest thing that man can do to increase their confidence. So,
Yeah.
for anybody listening, especially guys, if you ain't got one, find one, set an appointment, and then set the next appointment while you're there for 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
You'll trust me, you'll thank me later, and keep going.
Yeah.
Don't stop. Don't stop,
Yeah.
so
And guys, we're not talking like an expensive barber. You can go
no.
just start somewhere. Like just
Yeah,
start somewhere.
yeah, yeah,
And women too. Girl, fix your hair. Okay. Come on. Get up. Put your clothes on. You're fine. So, self-care is that stuff though.
yeah.
It's wanting to get up and be better for yourself and to give yourself compassion and love as
No,
well.
I agree. Absolutely.
Okay.
100% agree.
Ta-da! Okay, ready? Number
Yeah.
8 is gratitude and growth. Embracing gratitude and focusing on personal growth can be transformative during the healing journey. Cultivating a mindset of gratitude for lessons learned is
Yep.
one of them that I brought to the light. and the progress that you made through that journey, like really reflecting on why you were grateful and really reiterating yourself, because when we have gratitude, that is joy and love and happiness,
Right.
and you're truly grateful. And to me, even if I wasn't grateful, I told myself that 1 million times, or I found something about the moment that I was talking about so I could be grateful about it.
Right.
So, do you wanna reiterate on the man side of it?
Yeah, I mean, well, the biggest thing is setting goals, um, and actually setting achievable goals and achieving them, and then small
Yes.
reward. It doesn't even have to be like taking a vacation or anything like that. Just say, "Hey, Wes, good job." I like writing them down and
Okay.
striking them off. That's my rewards. I struck it off.
It's
So I mean,
let's stress the word achievable goals.
yeah, 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 yeah,
Okay?
yeah.
That
It's like
means let's not shoot that I am going to be grateful for everything that I have in 5 minutes. Like,
right,
it
right.
so can you reiterate on achievable more in a minute when you're done?
Yeah, no, no, that's what I
Yeah.
was going to say. Was I was going to
Okay.
actually elaborate on the achievable part. So you
Sorry.
you jumped right into it.
It was just
Like
so important though.
right, right. Like for me, like for instance, like I have what I call like small goals. Things that I need to hit, I'm gonna hit, right? And then I have
Yeah.
other goals that are larger, that may take years to actually accomplish. But the small ones, like for instance, I have one small one, and then it's discipline. Like I know, hey, guys hate that word, but it's discipline. I've had a goal now for 5 years, and it is to make $5,000 more than I did the year previous.
Okay.
And $5,000 is not a whole lot, but I
Yeah.
had literally changed jobs to hit that goal.
Yeah.
That's discipline.
Yeah.
That's you saying, you know what? I gotta go. Sorry, bud. Gotta roll.
We're
Guy
gonna
down
do
the street
this.
to give me
Yeah.
5 grand more. And that's what I've done. So let's break that apart. So I said 5 grand a year, 5 years. It's $25,000.
Mhm.
That's a lot of money. Okay. So set achievable goals for yourself and then reward yourself. And like I said, a reward doesn't have to mean you buy yourself something. A reward is you checked it off. A reward to me is I stood firm in what I said, and I'm going to stand my ground. This is what I'm worth. This is what I deserve, and I'm going to get it, and
Yeah.
that's the hardest part sometimes for a guy to just step into that masculinity and say, I am going to do this because I said I'm going to do this. So I said I'm going to make $5,000 more every year. Then by God, I'm going to make $5,000 more a year, because I
Yeah.
said I was going to. So
Yeah.
discipline is hard sometimes, and that's why I said set up achievable goals because you don't want to fall on your face over and over again. New Year's resolutions never work, right? Because
They
a lot of times you
they
said
don't.
something that was way out of grasp.
Yeah. And be grateful for that learning experience. Like, can I just tell the story really fast about you in the prison?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah,
So,
go ahead.
what
I was like, "Wait a minute,
what
wait a minute, we're not gonna
drives
talk about my bad."
no, what
I ain't even
drives
been to prison, what are you talking
Wes
about?
drives home Wes drives home every day from work, and he passes by prison. He always gets put in um traffic there, like, it's every day, and I know it's probably just part of, but I was like, "Okay, can we find something what's beautiful around you? What brings you joy right now?" And, he wants to get home, he's done for the day, he's like, and I'm just like, "No, really, focus. Like, what brings joy to you right now in this moment? And what are you grateful for?" So anytime that you're in a bad place and you are healing, just remember what you're grateful for.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
in this one, it's sometimes he's just like, there's just lights everywhere. But not just like, baby, be grateful. We're on the phone. I love you. So
Yeah,
it's hard. It's
yeah,
hard. It
yeah,
really is hard sometimes because we just get wrapped up in our own heads
yeah,
and forget. But
yeah, absolutely.
remembering so those are my 8 things that I kinda wrote, but I just kinda wanna sum it up with remembering that the healing process takes time. You are not going to read a self-help book and skip through everything what we've been through. And we are talking to you from experience
Yeah.
and what we did and how we did. It's important to be kind to yourself and allow yourself the space and grace to heal at your own pace.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
No,
babe, would you like to
yeah.
reiterate?
Yeah, no, I agree. Like it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort. You're gonna fail. You're gonna succeed. And it really is a never ending thing. So don't think that you're gonna wake up tomorrow and be completely healed. There's still things that I need to go through. There's still
Oh,
things
yeah,
I'm probably sure you need to go through. Like it's just
absolutely.
it's an impossible notion to think that you're gonna completely heal in a small amount of time. Like it's just it's an ongoing thing. And there's gonna be times where you think you've healed yourself from something, and then you realize quickly that you did not. So it's just
That's a
it,
fact, Jack.
yeah, and it's not a good feeling. It's not a good feeling to put in effort, and then at the end of it, you didn't succeed. Like that's really hard for guys. I'm sure women too, but it- don't always think that it's going to be so great. Um, and also remember that you have been this repetitive person for many, many years. And when you start to heal, you're going to most likely lose everybody and everything. Okay. And that's okay. I was the same way. I had all these friends, I had all these social events, I had church, and I all of a sudden was like, no, none of this. None of this was me. So therefore, for me to grow, I have to let not all of it, but almost all of this go. You know, the next chapter of my life is going to be different, and I'm going to have to surround myself with different people. So here I am at 45
Absolutely.
years old, and I'm creating new circles, through
Yeah,
social media, through other things. And these are people, and I love the fact that social media is there now because now I can start to meet people that are not down the street that are like me. So it's broadened
absolutely.
my circle, or the reach, So just understand that it's not pretty, it's not gonna be pretty, and you better be ready for it, and that's why you do it for yourself and nobody else. So
And remember also that as you're doing this, you will get stuck in patterns, and then eventually you will figure out, I need to be learning something from this.
right.
And Wes and I often like he might do something a couple of times and I'm like, "Hey babe, maybe you should come out of your brain just a minute and look at what is going on with." And I love that I get like we can kind of hold each other accountable, by the way. I do appreciate that about you, and you know that I love you. And
Yeah.
and like that helps. So really when you start to heal and you start to find joy, you start to attract people that are like-minded. And
Yeah.
it in the universe, God will put that person in your path, but you really have to kind of move through this healing process, and these people just come, and it's like it's just understanding, and it's kind of like if you've came across this video, well, there obviously needs to be something healed in your heart, and we
Yeah.
want to give people kind of like a guide of what to start to do like immediately.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, well, I don't have anything else. I think that I just talked my whole brain off.
I hear you. I hear you. So I do want to end with everybody that's listening, this is something new for us. I appreciate all the love, the compassion, people watching. I know this is going to go so many places. And we want to reach out and be able to start to take scenarios from people. So if you're listening out there, you can DM me on Instagram. Usually is the easiest one for me to get, and I may not get it right away, but I want to start reading people's scenarios on our podcast, and start
Yeah,
to develop, real conversations about what people are going through and what they're feeling. Because the whole point of my content and the whole, what fuels behind it is I want people to realize they're not alone. There's so many people out there that have been through a similar situation. A lot of people, especially, somebody professional, were to look at my page, they're like, dude, you hardly ever respond to anybody because that's not what I'm there for. I'm there to put the content out, to get the conversation started, and then I want people to actually help each other in the comments by themselves.
Yeah.
So let's do it. Start reaching out to us, and we will start to read these things. You can be anonymous. You don't have to use your name.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody will know who you are unless you want me to read your name. And if you reach out
Yeah.
to me and I read your piece of content, I'll read your name if you want me
That's
to.
actually that's actually one of the questions that I will ask is if they want to be anonymous or if they want to,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. So that's what
Yeah.
I wanted to close on was a call to action to all the listeners. Let's get it out and let's get interactive, so we can start,
Or
helping people.
or they
Absolutely.
can or they can email, what's the email again, babe?
Bearded Savage LLC at gmail.com. And I'll try to put
Okay.
the link in the
And
description too.
yeah, and give us some love and share, and I hope everybody has a great day.
Yep. Yep. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you next episode on the Savage Corner. See you next Wednesday.
Pizza
Thanks.